I'm excited about this one, John, because this is a company we've personally been to a couple of times up in Minnesota and have been great partners with us for a long time. So without further ado, we've got Pete from Rouzer on the phone with us.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. Yeah.
Good to see you, buddy.
Awesome.
Good to see you.
Tell us a little bit about Rouzer.
Yeah, so Rouzer, we've been in business since 1937. So we're sneaking up on 90 years, if you can believe that.
Wow.
I don't know, I don't look a day over 90, so we're getting there.
Only your organs.
Yeah, exactly. We know how this industry is on our innards. It's such a good, healthy, relaxing.
Stress-free.
Rouzer started in 1937 as an electrical rep. We're in our third generation of ownership. Jerry Rouzer started the company back then. I went on to its second generation, and then now currently Tony and Larry, our third generation, have had the business since 2004. Starting to move into our fourth, and one thing Tony and Larry have done since taking over in 2004 is have expanded outside of just electrical. So we are at our core an electrical rep, but we also have bolted on separate divisions via acquisition. Added Burton Sales in 2011. They were in the staff-to market with Tool and Fastener. And then via another acquisition in 2018, they had a utility background. So, there's different growth strategies amongst manufacturers reps. And one of the things are specific to our market where there is a lot less distribution. It's a lot more large regional chains that do get into other segments. We've looked at growth opportunities as bolting on, so we can be more important not only to our end user customers but our distributor customers as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting to be able to cross that many verticals, right? Because each one of them has their own skill sets and their own mechanics of how they do business. So for example, the staff to market is very oriented towards calling on wholesalers and supply houses, and speccing in product with end users. And I guess it's kind of similar on the electrical side as well, but maybe you could just talk about how you're able to dynamically cover those different markets and the careabouts of different customers there.
Yeah, so we look at it two ways, internal and external. So internally focused, we look at it by product. So again, you've got products that'll cross all three segments, utility, tool, electrical. But to your point, John, externally, the staff to channel has its own, I'll say, dynamics of calling on it. Utility is different. Electrically is different. So internally, again, we separate it by products where we've got people that are masters in segments. So we have a tool segment, we've got a construction materials segment, commodity segment, a lighting segment. Now, externally, again, we have tool, utility, electrical. Whereas you talk about staff to having wholesalers then that sell to different even distribution partners that sell then to end users. Utility is almost purely demand creation, and you get into a world there where some lines will go direct, where they will sell around distribution, sell directly to a utility. And then electrical is a lot of course, through distribution, but even that in the last 5 to 10 years has changed. You're seeing distributors turning into more of a logistics arm where, the end customers are wanting, hey, when I come to you, I want my stuff. Or, hey, I know you deliver at 7 a.m. and at 2 p.m. to our job site. We don't want to take truckloads of material to our job site. Again, specific to our region, we're seeing electrical distribution turn into more of a logistics arm, which has caused us as the rep to expand and be more dynamic into demand creation. Because, distribution isn't out showing the new products, isn't out talking about what type of labor savings manufacturers are investing in, but they're really going out again, and trying to own that logistics piece to win projects. So we as a rep have to be dynamic. Again, now going back to across the segments where we're doing, again, electrical, it might be this, where utility, you can sell direct. Well, in some cases, I'll use, like a Gray Bar or a Sonopar Viking, where they don't like you selling direct. They want everything to be through. So it is a little bit of a balance act. But again, ultimately, if you look at the job, and again, data centers are a big buzz right now. You have the utilities that are selling the power, but then you have the generals that are managing all sorts of segments. So it's really helped us be more important to our customers across all facets of their business. And again, being in part of that fourth generation, where is it going to continue to evolve to over the next 20, 30 years?
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's 90 years ago. That's literally when Thomas Edison was around, inventing
right
and power distribution, right? And that's amazing. What a history.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, Pete, can you tell us a little bit about how your company uses Repfabric and how it's changed your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been with Repfabric now 5 years. It was just 5 years in February. We just, as we evolved and kind of going back onto what we just talked about, where we have 4 internal groups and 3 external groups, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces. So we had used a CRM system prior to it. And of course, as things were evolving in Repfabric and what you guys have done to stay on the leading edge is we need something at our core to make sure everybody is going the same direction. Obviously, having as many groups and divisions as we do, that's very difficult, but we needed an internal space that can be defined to make sure all members of our company, of our team, are striving to achieve the same goal. And I'll go on as far as say again, so you've got, we'll speak electrically for a minute, is you've got someone calling on electrical distribution, electrical side. Then you have somebody on the utility side calling on the utility. Then you have somebody on the demand creation side calling on that contractor. And really, again, going back to the old school way of telephone, there's a lot of things that can get misconstrued over the lifespan of a project. And so really for us, Repfabric is the core of our business to make sure all information is available to everybody at any given time. And it allows, again, let's just say somebody is out there right now while we're doing this, calling on a utility. And this afternoon, I've got a meeting where I can, before I walk into that meeting, I can almost see the notes from somebody else's call that's going on right now. So it really allows us to not repeat ourselves and to be as, what's the word I'm looking for, as streamlined, that's not the right word, but as streamlined as possible as we go to market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, efficiency, right?
Yeah, very efficient.
And then what about, I mean, you guys, again, great customers for 5 years, but you've always had really good adoption in your company. So what would you recommend to other rep principals out there, how to get people, maybe they're coming new onto a CRM system, how you encourage adoption of the system?
And quite frankly, that's been the most challenging part over the last 5 years is that adoption. In fact, we had a meeting about it this morning because, we're still looking at adding some people to the team. And we still talk about, every member that we've added since we've adopted 5 years ago. It's what did we learn from the last one? Again, the old adage, old habits die hard. You get people that are so used to the way that they've done it and how to get them to buy in. So really, first and foremost, we put it as part of a compensation package. We did include it into our variable compensation to drive usage of the system. And quite frankly, for us, that's been in 2 parts. There's the activity journal part, which again, going back to what we've talked about, that's someone's at a call right now, they put an activity journal in that when I go now this afternoon to a meeting, I can see those notes as I go into it.
Nice.
So that's one part. And then there's activity based as what we call it here internally. We using the system to track quotes, to track opportunities, to track jobs. And that is part of another category of a compensation package is how we're using the whole system to work in tandem with one another.
Nice.
And I know that a lot of what you guys have been focused on is quote generation and quote follow-up. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more on that journey? I think a lot of folks are always interested in understanding how to do that better.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just even, John, take it a little step further. Is one thing is we've gone across all these divisions. We've looked at it again, try to make a circle with my fingers, the lifespan of a project, right? So you've got, call it a sports stadium. You've got a sports stadium. Hey, we're going to build it. Well, that thing isn't going to break ground for 2 years. So you've from 12 o'clock, you've got the engineering, the architect piece from say 12 to 3 o'clock. Well, now 3 o'clock, now it's going to be bid. So now from 3 to 6 o'clock, you've got your bid stage. And then from 6 to 9 is your buy to delivery stage. And then from 9 to back to 12 is your commissions paid out and everything. So from a demand generation side, that's what we consider the right half of the clock, the 12 to 6, because now you're out creating demand for your products as we move forward. So that's where we'll use jobs and opportunities within the Repfabric system, because now we're out again, trying to get things. We need to have that in there. Now at that 6 o'clock part, even at 3 o'clock sometimes with bidding, now that's where we start using quotes. And it's been a really big part for us is now that we have quotes, we want to be able to tie that quote back to an opportunity, which is again, underneath a job at the very, very top if you want to work down to a pyramid. So using quotes has allowed us to do is really first and foremost brand Rouzer. Again, we can send out a quote on a Rouzer letterhead that has a bill of material with pricing on it. Again, we know that it comes from a manufacturer that we represent, but it brands our company and everything that we can do. We then can tie it back to opportunities, which again, opportunities are specific to a manufacturer. So if our leadership team goes and has a meeting with a manufacturer, we can pull reports not only at the opportunity level, but at the quote level to be able to have conversations either at what's coming in the future or where we're at today. And then again, looking at overall jobs and can, again, going back to us having multiple segments, it allows us to sit down and say, hey, under this project, we have a tool line, we have a utility line, we have an electrical line, all with opportunities generated. And then it just kind of flows downhill, I guess, if you will, across all aspects.
Yeah. And then how about like tracking your sales, invoices and commissions? How do you guys go about doing that?
Yeah. So then tracking wise, again, going to the end of that clock analogy, now the commissions are coming in. We can tie back commissions to the line. It helps us track profitability. It helps us track, again, going back to the usage question, the activity bonus portion. Now I sit down quarterly with the electrical team, cause that's the side I'm on, and sit down with them and said, hey, I've seen you call an X distributor 4 times. Well, as we've been able to put commissions into Repfabric and using our opportunities and activity journals, we can see which customers are more profitable than others. We can see which manufacturers are more profitable than others, being able to get that in real time out of the system to say, hey, why haven't you been at customer X more? You can see our quote hit rates are higher. And again, obviously a statistic is a statistic, but we're coming into age where data is a very powerful tool. And being able to input commissions into the same system that has quotes, opportunities, and jobs, we're able to take that information, at least have a lot of conversations at a higher level to really steer our activities moving forward. And then where we're as a business going to make investments as we can decide to grow or continue to grow. Again, which road we're going to go down.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And how do you use Repfabric to retain or attract new lines?
Yeah, great question. So using Repfabric to train or attract it actually allows us to, again, back to that data piece. It allows us to have data as to, we can sit and say, okay, we're missing this type of line or that type of line. We can then look at, again, via that commissions and that profitability standpoint, it really helps us internally to have those studies. So as we go into an interview, it allows us to know and pre-plan our interview to help attract. And then conversely, again, going back to a NEMRA conference or an NAED conference, it really helps us with the data via opportunities and activity journals. Again, when we can sit down and say we use a CRM system. Again, if you think data is important at the rep level, data is 10 times more important at our manufacturer level. So to be able to tell a manufacturer that we can, within seconds, export data based on certain things, again, whether it's activities, calls, opportunities, and whatnot, it really helps us lead that interview to not only attract, but to win interviews, to get lines, knowing that we have such a comprehensive system to help us do that.
That's cool.
One of the things that I know Rouzer is very deep into is your showroom, your tool showroom, your training facilities. That's something that you guys have added relatively recently, and now, maybe you could talk a little bit about the success you're having with that, and maybe how you follow up with people who come and get trained, things like that. I think that's pretty cool and very unique.
Yeah, no, thanks for mentioning that, John. So what John's mentioning, when we moved into this office space 10 years ago, it had a warehouse, and we didn't warehouse anything. So we put in a 32-seat training room in the back.
Wow.
And since then, to John's point, every year we make an investment back there at some sort of evolution. So next thing you know, we had, samples sitting around. Well, what do we do with it? We had a customer come in and look at a piece of equipment and ended up seeing a sample sitting on the table that turned into a multiple truckload order because that sample was sitting on the table.
Wow.
Which then, going back to a showroom piece, we said, why not? Why do we keep our samples on the shelves when we can set it out on show tables? And again, if somebody happens to come in here and sees it, starts to ask the question. And then again, we've continually cleaned it up. We put in a couple golf simulators a couple years ago.
Nice.
Now we're evolving on that. There might be a refrigerator back there that's filled up.
It's Minnesota, John.
It's Minnesota.
Yeah. Again, and this time of year, believe it or not, it gets used quite a bit as people get antsy for golf season. So then, again, what it allows us to do is we make people sign in, we track people that come through, and it all boils down to being able to follow up with contacts, to segment those contacts, to be able to provide them with information. So we just had an open house, our first one here a month-ish ago. We're going to try every quarter to do some sort of event. I think we have another one now planned for May, where again, continue to learn, continue to evolve. Our next one, we're going to try to do a beanbag tournament. Again, just to keep it fun, drive the relationship, drive people into our office, drive people to see what we have to offer.
How do you make people aware that you're doing these events?
Just again, very much, we have a marketing person, so she's very much using like a service to get mass emails out. Word of mouth, we, again, having the multiple segments that we do, we try to make sure we're leaving flyers at businesses that we go through to say, hey, just come into our office, come see it. And again, labor is extremely short right now, so it's getting more and more challenging to get people out. And again, that's why we're trying to put in, trying to do something fun. We're saying, hey, and then you also have to, from a training center standpoint, you got to make sure the training's worth it. So that ROI for the customer is there to say, hey, we basically gave our team I'll use vacation day loosely, but they weren't in the office being productive for us that day. They want that return on investment when they get back. So we want to make sure, not only is it a memorable experience, but they get a lot of takeaways too while they're here.
Makes good sense. Makes good sense.
It's just very innovative, right? Like it's a great idea.
For sure. Yeah. Last question for me, Pete, but what do you see, how do you see AI affecting the rep business going forward? Have you given much thought to that, or?
A ton of thought. And actually had a conversation about this about a week and a half ago with a rep friend of ours from another territory. It is absolutely going to affect our business. How and what, I still think remain to be learned. Because again, we can sit and have conversations with all of our rep friends where they'll say, hey, we need AI. Okay, great. What do you need AI for? Well, they could be down a completely different tangent than we're on. Because it is so dynamic in what it does and how it can affect our business, your business. To how though, that's really, really hard. And again, ROI is at the bottom of a lot of what we do, and you're going to make an investment today. Is it going to be in the right area that AI is going to be a huge part of 20 years from now? And I always use this analogy to friends and family and whatnot. I said, but if you look at my grandma and grandpa, again, when they were born, they had a telephone that connected across the whole street. Right. And you could pick up the phone and hear what your neighbor's talking about, because that's what telephones were like in the 40s. And at the end of their life, to say, hey, you can hold up a cell phone and see someone's picture on the other end and go back to the 40s and say, hey, in 70 years, this is what you're going to be able to do. I talk about that now with AI. If this is a phone that everyone on your block can hear, what's life going to be like in 30 years? And again, going back to your AI point, I really think it's going to be unfathomed. Nothing any of us can imagine. So again, I know I deviated there a little bit, but AI,
you're good.
But it is going to be a huge part of what we do. As to how and what, I think we're still very much in the infancy.
Still remains to be seen.
We're going to be bringing you a couple of things here in the not too distant future. So
I'm really excited as to how all that's going to adapt and drive. Because again, I can see it making us extremely more efficient into what we do and the services that we can offer. And the beauty of it, though, is I still think is humans need humans, people need people, and the base of our business is still going to be a people to people business. And just like data is a tool and AI is going to be a tool, I still think the relationship is going to be at the core of what we do. All of this technology, again, Repfabric CRM system is only just helps us in our relationship be who we are to our customers and our manufacturers.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much for taking the time today. If people want to find you or find Rouzer, where do they go? Rouzer.com?
Yes, www.rouzer.com. Rebecca does a really good job with our website. All of our information is on there. And again, if anyone has any questions, the system has been really beneficial to us over the last 5 years. Please reach out.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Pete. Thank you very much for all you do and your time.